Hello my friends and welcome to today's video. Our journey continues. We are discovering, is Jesus just a good man? Is he just a great prophet or an astute political leader? Well, spoiler alert, none of the above. He's God. He is the Lord God Almighty, part of the Trinity. And this journey is looking into, where does the Bible actually say that? And just to be a bit different, today we're actually going all the way back to Exodus and we're going to look at Moses. And Moses has, shall we say, something of an encounter. I'm sure you've heard the story of the burning bush. Moses is out there looking after his father-in-law's sheep around Mount Horeb, I think it was. And he encounters a bush that's on fire, but of course it's not being consumed. And it's really interesting, if you fast forward to later in the story, that's where Israel end up meeting God. And of course he comes and reveals himself in fire. But that's not what we're talking about today. Moses encounters God. God gives him his calling. He's going to be a prophet. He's there to lead the people out of Egypt into the freedom that God has for them, that they can worship him. And then this very interesting conversation kicks off. And I'll read it to you. It's Exodus chapter 3, verses 14 and 15. But Moses protested, "If I go to the people of Israel and tell them the God of your ancestors has sent me to you, they'll ask me, 'What is his name?' What should I tell them?" God replied to Moses, "I am who I am. Say this to the people of Israel, 'I am has sent me to you.'" God also said to Moses, "Say this to the people of Israel, 'Yahweh, the God of your ancestors, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob has sent me to you.'" Now, there's loads in there. We could write a book on it if I was qualified enough. But let's look at the "I am who I am." That's a really strange and a statement that's stuck within the psyche of the nation and even Christians and even popular culture today, the whole "I am" thing. What does that mean? Well, people have argued over it for years. There's all sorts of debate, but the consensus seems to be it's a word play on Yahweh. If you read it in Hebrew, it sounds similar to Yahweh. And it's talking about the fact that God is self-existent. He doesn't need anything. He's not like the false gods. Even when there's a demonic force behind a false god, you're still dealing with a created being. There might be supernatural involved, but we're not talking about Yahweh. And so God is self-existent. It also points to the fact that he relates to people, and it points to the covenant. So it's a whole play on Yahweh. I am who I am. Well, okay, Mark, that's fairly interesting. What's that got to do with Jesus? I'm glad you asked that. If we fast forward now about 1400 years and we parachute into John chapter 8, and we'll pick it up in verse 49, there's some real back and forth between Jesus and the Jewish leaders and the claims he's making and the promises he's making. Well, let's say they're not inspiring them, they're really annoying them. And then in verse 49, Jesus says this, "No," Jesus said, "I have no demon in me." They'd accused him of that. "For I honor my Father and you dishonor me. And though I have no wish to glorify myself, God is going to glorify me. He is the true judge. I tell you the truth, anyone who obeys my teaching will never die." Okay, I admit it. I didn't have to put that verse in, but it does add to the story. And look at that promise in verse 51. Anyone who obeys my teaching will never die. What are the commands of God? What is it that we must do? Well, we have to believe in Jesus. That's it. When we believe in him, our heart is changed, and then we start to live differently as we do our best to reflect him into the world around us. But of course, a statement like that, imagine if you've got children and one of them came home from school. Children used to go to school before we closed the world. They came home and said, "My teacher says that if I do what he says, I will never die." Yeah, you're not going to call him a good teacher anymore, are you? Or if a prophet said, "Do as I say and I will give you life, you will never die," you'd rightly write him off as a whack job. But of course, Jesus made these claims And the reason Jesus isn't a whack job is, well, he rose from the dead. But this doesn't go down well with his audience. But Jesus, being Jesus, doesn't back off. And if we pick it up in verse 56, he says this: "Your father Abraham rejoiced as he looked forward to my coming. He saw it and was glad." Okay, so Abraham was able, as a prophet, to see into the future, to see the coming of Jesus. Possibly he had an understanding of the gospel rather than specifically Jesus, but maybe I'm wrong. Let's pick it back up at verse 57. The people said, "You aren't even 50 years old. How can you say you've seen Abraham?" Okay, now we drop the bomb. Are you ready for this? Let's read verse 58 together. Jesus answered, "I tell you the truth. Before Abraham was even born, I am." At that point, they picked up stones to throw at him. This is massive. Everybody listening knew what Jesus was saying. They were washed, they were baptized, they had their minds filled with this whole narrative from Genesis all the way through to the end of Malachi. I think theirs was in a different order, but nonetheless, these people were, the whole Old Testament story made up their worldview, none more than the teachers of the law, the Pharisees and the Sadducees. And then Jesus says to them, "I am." Why did they want to throw stones at him? Because he just told them he was God. He just said to them, actually, "You know the burning bush? Yep, that was me." So the next time someone comes along to you and says, "Oh, Jesus is just a good man, but you can't say he's God," well, actually, you can point them gently but firmly to the scriptures and say, "Actually, I can, because he really is God." Thank you so much for your time, my friends. I really hope this was a help. Please help this channel. Please like and subscribe, whatever channel you're watching it on. And I'll do my best to remember to put a link in the description here. You can get the invites to the webinars, and you can also find out about our own private network, because a lot of us are concerned about how long we're going to last on the main platforms. So we do have our own network where we can chat and talk, and all these videos will be stored. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye for now.